Men of Reddit, what is the worst thing a girl has said or done during or after sex? I was going down on a girl that I had my eye on for a little while. As I'm settling in with a face full, she says, "I hope you don't mind if I don't reciprocate. I was raped by my uncle when I was younger." Being stunned, I said, "Oh shit. Of course not." A few minutes later, as she was getting close to orgasm, she out of nowhere grabs my head with both hands and very aggressively face fucked me. I mean, to the point I lost my erection and actually went to the bathroom to see if I had a busted lip or bloody nose. Jammed her finger into my belly button. She thought it was hot in the heat of the moment, but I just started screaming and she was genuinely at a loss for why I stopped so suddenly. The girl I lost my virginity to, and who lost her virginity to me, wanted to know what sex was like, but she didn't want rumors about her being promiscuous to spread. She picked me because, according to her, even if I told anyone, nobody would believe me anyway. Started talking about how she was over her ex. I really liked her, but in that moment it was clear I was a rebound. An ex of mine yelled out my dad's name when she climaxed during sex. Afterwards, she admitted that she was extremely attracted to my dad, and since I looked like a younger version of him, she was imagining him in my place whenever we had sex. Not something she did per se. But we finished having sex and were lying in bed naked when her dog jumps onto the bed, starts acting super strange, like spinning in circles, making odd noises, etc., but we sort of ignore it for a few minutes. Next thing I know, I feel a warm wet substance on my leg. Thinking it was the dog slobbering on me, I sort of bug out cause I'm still naked and that's kind of weird for her to lick me. I crunch up to push the dog away and there it was. The mother of all shits. Like the type of diarrhea you get from late night Taco Bell. All over my lower extremities. She straight up stole my rent money out my wallet while I was sleeping. In hindsight, she may have been a prostitute, or just a thief, who knows. Go deeper, deeper. Bro, I'm all in there, we're out of material. I was taking this girl doggy style and she accidentally inhaled a feather from my pillow and proceeded to gag and puked in bed. After sex, telling me she's pregnant and that the pill didn't work. Fell asleep with my dick in her mouth. But we're married since long now. Also, bit my dick while sneezing. My very first BJ, freshman year, my girlfriend puked my jizz, and her dinner, which she had eaten with my entire family, all over my stomach in bed. My parents were roused by the commotion of my disgusted surprise, and her dry heaves. They thought we had stolen Dad's beer and gotten sick. There had been a prior incident with some of Dad's vodka, so they rushed to the scene, ready to give 15 years/oh me hell. Well, my girlfriend let it slip what we were doing, why she had puked, as she sat crying on the floor, beyond embarrassed. My dad laughed his ass off and told my older sister, who had joined them at the door of my room. She'd come to see what Dad was laughing about. Then my mom took over the cleanup process and sent the girlfriend home. The talk followed, my sister still brings it up. It was like a fucking rom-com. We were absolutely mortified then, and I've never been able to finish while getting head since. I've heard good things. One girl went to use the bathroom after our first time together. She fainted naked on the bathroom floor. I had to call the paramedics. She woke up while they were wheeling her to the ambulance. We spent the night at the hospital. Turns out she had some kind of anxiety attack. A different girl, drunk hookup, peed in my bed. Oh boy. I'm out at a bar having some drinks and my neighbor shows up, very attractive girl, and she's buzzed and flirtatious. We head back to my place for a nightcap and then start making out, clothes are coming off, and before I know it we are going at it. Then out of nowhere while she's on top of me she says, in what I can remember as an attempt at sexy voice, "My boyfriend is going to kivle you." Yup, pushed her off and opened the front door. I had no idea she had a boyfriend, never saw him next door, don't care. Just nope. Laughed at me during a BJ. After told all our mutual friends I had a small dick. That was an awkward few months after. Still hit though. Tinder hookup, she was on top, her open-ended nose ring got hooked around my nose ring, she panicked and yanked her head back. 2 nearly severed nostrils later, we never spoke again. I don't want to be with you anymore. Not even joking. 6-year relationship, married for 2, I don't want to be with you anymore right after finishing. Can I get an oof? After sex, definitely when she pulled out her phone and started texting ASAP. She was telling a friend of hers that she finally got me, lol. It strung a chord in my mind and I just couldn't shake it from then on as to how shallow she was. Worst during sex was a woman who pulled a knife on me. She wanted to roleplay but completely failed to tell me that she wanted to do so. This didn't happen to me, but a friend told me he ejaculated in a girl's mouth, so she spat his spaff into the palm of her hand and rubbed it into his face. He said he was shocked initially but laughed afterwards. A few months ago on a whim I slept with who, at the time, was a good friend and had been since 2018. We were both lonely and horny and happened to be single. As soon as I finish she pushes me off, throws on her clothes and says, "I didn't think I would regret this as much as I do. It isn't your fault, I'm not over my ex and this feels wrong." Then she left and hasn't spoken to me. A good friendship ruined. Took a phone call from her husband, whose existence I was ignorant of up to then. Definitely killed the mood for me. As we were warming up she was straddling me and seen something from my gym pinned on the wall. She pointed to it and asked, "Oh, you have a membership for Pure Gym?" "Yes," I replied. "Then why are you so fat?" she asked whilst prodding my gut. This was after telling me I had a girl's ass, which I laughed off as I didn't really understand. We didn't have sex. We were only dating for a couple of weeks, but I kept finding blood on the bed sheet each time she spent the night over. She told me she was on her period, which wasn't a big deal to me, but this kept happening each and every time we had sex. One morning, I woke up to find a third of the bed covered in blood, and a huge amount on the floor and bathroom. I confronted her and said I didn't believe all this is period blood. She finally confessed that she was molested as a kid, and her way of coping with the PTSD that sex triggers is by cutting herself. The first night we had sex, she started crying mid-stroke about how she was date raped. It was very awkward, but I was sympathetic and shit. We're 3 months strong now. I spent the night with a beautiful redhead. The first thing she said afterwards was, "You're the first man I've had sex with since I was raped." I had no idea and didn't have a clue on what to say. After we finished she went and slept on the couch. A week later we were at a bar and she was talking to an older couple about how she was going to make them breakfast in the morning. Turns out she was planning on dumping me that night and ended up hooking up with their son. They're married with a few kids, so it worked out for the best. I was in love with this girl all through my middle school and my high school. Eventually she rejected me and made a huge deal about it. But we were too young, so I don't care now. 8 years later we met again by chance and started dating. She started showing that she is actually in love with me now. I couldn't believe my luck. Especially because I was recovering from a very bad breakup and depression. We took things slow, went on numerous dates, made out a lot. Finally we hooked up. That entire day she would just say how much she loved me while doing the deed. It felt like a dream come true. That evening after dropping her home, I was typing a long text about how lucky I am to have her. Before I could send, I received a text from her that today was a mistake and she never wants to see me again. I blame my sexual performance lol. She was on top, I was getting nauseous from motion sickness, and she started talking about her 3 kids while riding me. I pretty much lost an erection. Like WTF. A few days later she said she didn't even realize it and that when she gets awkward or embarrassed and nervous she just starts talking about random things. So, for context, I was at a friend's house. My GF and I were texting and she suddenly says she's horny and if I want to come over to fuck. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. About 40 minutes later I arrive at her house and we started making put. I asked her if she still wants to have sex BC. She seemed a bit tired. She replied yes sure, and so we start undressing and started. She was kinda starfishing and she then said, "I never felt so raped before." I instantly lost my boner and I was shocked and didn't know how to react. Only not great sexual experience I've ever had was the first time. Amazingly she was the one that finished, allegedly, in a minute and a half, and then dismounted, and that was it. And she'd put on such a show in that short time that I was too distracted to feel anything, so I didn't suggest to keep going. I remember her saying something like, "Well, now you've had sex," and I thought, I kinda beg to fucking differ.